What's our story today?
Oh, okay. It's oh, actually, is this the one? We are chapter 3, lesson number 3, which is actually number 4, page 65. Yeah. So it's called If You Look Down on Others, They Can Sense It. Yeah, this one. And you can see it on the screen too.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see it on my screen, but I do have the book.
Okay, thank you.
If you look down on others, they can sense it and will dislike you. Why are we so tense and irritable? When we come into contact with others, we are tend to be envious of those who are superior to us and try to find some points in which they are inferior. With regard to those who are on the same level as ourselves, we tend to think we are above them and find it almost impossible to acknowledge them as equals. With regard to those who are actually inferior to us, we look down on them with an attitude of condescension, secure in the knowledge that we are superior. These attitudes are representative of the prideful mind that we all have and make our relationships at school or the workplace and our friendships stiff and tense. Shakyamuni Buddha classified this mind that regards oneself as superior into three types: man, feelings of superiority over inferiors; kaman, feelings of superiority over equals; and mankaman, feelings of superiority over superiors. Man is the attitude of condescension we have when we see someone who is clearly inferior to us. In the case of women, it may arise when they look at the clothing and possessions of the women around them and think, I'm prettier, or I have better fashion sense. In the case of men, it may arise regarding salary or company affiliation, status, or level of ability with respect to work and make them think, I'm better than he is, or can't he even do that? Even if you do not openly say, I'm better, if that attitude is sensed by the other person, you won't be you will be disliked for it. Sometimes a deeper wound is inflicted by a cool, mocking look than by harsh words. The phrase looking down on somebody is often heard lately, and man attitude of condescension is plain to see in people's eyes. So one must exercise the greatest care over it. People who wonder why others are not fond of them, or who are concerned that there is something unlikable about themselves, would do well to reflect on with what kind of eyes they look at others. The habit of interacting with others with feelings of consideration and gentle looks is called the gift of a kindly gaze, which will be discussed in chapter 6. Next, there is the attitude of kama, which is when we take pride in our own assumed superiority with regard to someone who is actually on the same level as us. For example, if both of you and someone else get a 70 on an exam, you might think, his father is rich and hires a private tutor for him, but I can't go to a cram school and have to study on my own. If the conditions were the same, I would have gotten a higher score than he did. That is an example of kama. Finally, there is mankaman, in which encountering someone who is clearly superior to ourselves, we can't admit it, that instead of looking for his weaknesses, so that we can say to ourselves, I'm really better than he is. For example, if the other got 90 on the test while you got 80, you say to yourself, he may be doing okay at studying, but he's no good at sports. I can do both well. You look for a plausible reason to rank yourself above the other person. People don't want to recognize other people's strengths or abilities. We live surrounded by a great many people at school, at work, and in the area where we reside. Don't we needlessly make ourselves tense and irritable by comparing ourselves to others and wondering which of us is superior? When we are tempted to do that, let's make an effort to look into our own hearts to see whether we are not looking down on others with one of the three types of pride that Shakyamuni spoke of. Then we will be able to interact with those around us in a happier, more agreeable way than we usually do. And the illustrations on the following page show two little rabbits looking at each other, and one is saying, "I'm cuter than she is." That's an example of man, one feeling greater than the other, who is inferior to them. And then there's another image here of one kitten looking at another one, and one says, "Our looks may be about the same, but I'm more popular," with an equal sign between them. And that's an example of Kaman, when two people are on the same level, but yet we want to feel superior to them by any way we can. And then the third is a picture of two little rabbits, and one is very cute and the other is looking very tense and jealous and says, "I can never win against her at anything, but still I'm better." And that's an example of Mankaman, when obviously someone who is superior to you, you want to make yourself feel better than them anyway. So the story illustrates that we always have our own best interest in the forefront. And it's very difficult to think of other people because we have to recognize how we are related to them in some way, in ability or status, and we make comparisons. It's only natural. It's one of our passions that we can't eliminate, but it brings us a lot of suffering. Whenever we compare our situation or how we are with other people, we want to put ourselves on top and we want to put the other ones down somehow. But we all are of equal value. That's like the deep, deep down. We're all the same. We all have the great potential of liberating or being liberated from this realm of suffering. So we have that all in common, where our value doesn't change, even though our opinion of the other person makes us think that they're less valuable, or makes us want to think that they're less valuable, even if we have to admit to ourselves that the truth is otherwise. So it's part of our foolish nature that we can't avoid, but certainly being aware of it helps us catch ourselves, and we can take efforts to maybe correct that by showing kindness, showing the ability to give something simple like a kind word or a kind look, and that's a positive. That takes us away from seeing the other person as inferior or as someone who is dominating. We want them to be inferior, and it turns it into seeing them as our brother and sister, as someone who has the same value that we do. So that's our story for today. We have to be very mindful of that pride that we have, and try to counteract it with some kindness.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Rick, for reading and explaining the story for us. So this is how we practice moving forward together. And good job, everyone. We will have advanced group session, 6 p.m. by Morita Sensei. Have a restful evening. Goodbye.